Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for Main Event Mark's YouTube channel and the Dragon Suplex Podcasting Network. What a crazy weekend it has been in pro wrestling. We had AAA, we had NXT, we had NWA, we had Beyond Wrestling. We had so much wrestling to talk about that we're going to dive into all that stuff to some degree. But first, I really wanted to talk about the week that was in AEW. As you guys know, I broke down every single match from worst to first. It's not going to be a long talk because, in a few hours from now, we're going to be having Dynamite. But just to stay consistent with the AEW coverage on this podcast, we're going to be breaking down every single match from Rampage and Dynamite from worst to first, all 9 matches. And number 9 out of 9 is the Jade Cargill match. She whooped up on Kai, some woman that is being trained by Thunder Rosa, but she whooped her ass so much that it's got to be ranked 9 out of 9. To be last place, and this is kind of a compliment, just like to be second to last is a compliment in this case. Wardlow versus AC Adams. Wardlow whooped his ass, so that's why he's 8 of 9. But surprisingly enough, Bryan Danielson versus Alan Angels, a very good match, is number 7 out of 9. Bryan Danielson is cleaning up the Dark Order here, whooping their ass in their hometown. It was Alan Angels' hometown of Atlanta, and he made short work of him. Bryan Danielson, a lot of people are talking about, oh, how stupid is this? A heel is beating people in their hometowns. Why is Bryan Danielson, beating a whole faction? How is that heel? Well, because he's beating them in their hometown. That's a dick move. He's going out of their way to embarrass them in front of loved ones. That's kind of an asshole move. Vince McMahon's done it for years, so he's already seen the template that this will get heat if you purposely beat people in their hometowns. So he already has seen how people take to it when Vince McMahon does it. So then he brought it into the realm of the wrestling show and is doing it, and he's getting heat for it. People have been booing him consistently. They've also been cheering when he comes out. He's definitely seen as a star, but he's seen as the cool shithead, the cool asshole, which is exactly what you kind of want, I think, in your top heel. You kind of want them to have a level of at least star power to go along with their heel work. And I think Bryan Danielson is doing a perfect job of that. Moriarty versus Punk is 6 out of 9. Punk, is stepping up his game a little bit here, but I feel like this Moriarty versus Punk is more of that victory lap that MJF talks about, that I've been talking about. But Punk is getting better and better, at just kind of bringing out these old things that we used to love about him. But it's still sitting at 6 out of 9. Top 5 though. Nese versus Sammy Guevara. Nese needed this win, or needed this to go well for him, to kind of solidify himself and not get lost in the shuffle in AEW, and I think he did a great job. These guys were tearing it up. Reminded me of old 205 Live here with the style they were doing. Sammy Guevara, great bell to bell, and gets the victory. But a good match gets bumped down when you have a feel-good match. And Gunn Club versus Sting and Darby was a feel-good match. Colton Gunn, who knew he had it in him? Darby diving on everybody. Sting, he still has it. Atlanta let him know, and they get the victory, Sting and Darby. Amazing match. Top 3, though, is, I would say, 4 through 9, those were fun matches, but the top 3 matches were legitimately amazing matches. FTR versus Penta and Pac to set up the Triplemania semi-main event that we're going to talk about a little later on the show. Solid fucking match. Number 2, Ruby Riott and Chris Statlander. If the number 1 wasn't what it was, Ruby and Chris would be the better match. I think I rank every Rampage and Dynamite match from worst to first every single week, and 9 times out of 10, Ruby and Chris Statlander would be that number 1 match. They killed it, and I really haven't been impressed with either one of their stints in AEW so far. and which I guess if they can make a hater like me impressed with the match, imagine if you just casually were flipping through channels, or you in fact were fans of these guys, how well they would do. Go back out of your way and watch that match. And I don't have to say go out of your way and watch it, because I'm sure you've seen it. Cody versus Andrade. This match was amazing. I've said it. If T-Pain is in a wrestling match and that's not what's being talked about at the end of that wrestling match, then it is a crazy wrestling match. We almost lost Arn Anderson falling off the ramp. Him and Jose, the interpreter, were whooping each other's ass. Jose is yoked. They were pulling out sledgehammers. Cody thought better of it. A little knock on Triple H. I like that. But then the golden shovel, I guess he uses it to bury people. He was going after Andrade. Then all of a sudden, they set up a table. Brandy comes out of nowhere, gets booed until she starts lighting the table with lighter fluid. She dumped 2 or 3 containers of lighter fluid on there, which makes me think that they learned from the exploding barbed wire death match fiasco to make sure that shit looks good. And that's what Brandy did. She lit the whole table on fire, and then Cody Rhodes hits like a Celine Del Sol kind of maneuver to Andrade. I guess it was a reverse Celine Del Sol. He hit some maneuver to Andrade through the table. He takes most of the flaming table. His arm, his tights are still on fire as he pins Andrade. Andrade doesn't have, of course he's saving himself realistically, but also if some man is willing to burn himself and you to win a match, let him have the victory. Let him have the fucking victory. And that's exactly what happened. Andrade is trying to put fire out on himself as Cody is getting this pin. 1, 2, 3. Holy hell, what a match. What a spectacle. This match is a match that we're going to remember for years and years to come. This is just like when Brock and Big Show went through the ring. This is just like when the New Age Outlaws pushed Cactus Jack and Terry Funk off the ramp. This is just going to be something we're going to remember for years and years and years to come. It was a crazy spectacle. And like I said, if a T-Pain is in a wrestling match and at the end of the wrestling match people aren't just talking about T-Pain, that's good. You utilize the star power, you promoted the Go Big Show, and you actually went fucking super big in the main event. I thought it was awesome. Naysayers are gonna naysay, but what can you do? This is a crazy match. I'm looking forward to AEW Dynamite, and they're kind of firing on all cylinders right now. I want to say in a month where there is no WWE pay-per-view and no AEW pay-per-view for that matter, you look at MJF versus Punk. You look at the idea of the big match winner is coming with Bryan Danielson and Adam Page. And then you look at this spectacle of Cody risking it all. I feel like AEW is pretty exciting still to watch right now. They got all those big players, and then kind of how that is subsiding. If you do watch, you're getting rewarded now with finally we get Punk versus MJF. We're getting Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page. We're getting Andrade versus Cody, and Cody going off. This is great. Great time to be a wrestling fan. Amazing shit from AEW. And before we jump into the other shows that we're scheduled to talk about, I did want to bring up Jeff Hardy, because last episode was so much about Jeff Hardy going to his concert and everything in his home state in North Carolina, where I'm from as well. It seemed like everything was looking good for Jeff Hardy. He did look a little perturbed with WWE. Like I said, I mean, I was drinking, but he did mention AEW, and he kind of said, like, if this was AEW, so he did seem like maybe he was getting frustrated with the WWE, but then apparently at the house show, he had come off fatigued, looked worn out. Of course, he has history with drugs and alcohol, so hopefully it has nothing to do with that, and hopefully he can get back to entertaining us all soon. But speaking of being entertained, NXT Wargames and AAA Triplemania Regia, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I know I'm not. But they all had big shows. And like I do with certain shows, whenever there's two big shows in one week, and I try to compare them. Like next week, I'm going to do Ring of Honor and Noah. This weekend, or last weekend rather, NXT Wargames and Triplemania, they're getting ranked every match from worst to first, all 11 matches. So we get to do NXT versus AAA. This is a huge show for AAA. This is, I would say, maybe their second biggest show of the year. There's Triplemania, and then this show is called Triplemania Regia, which I think just means revenge. So this is like maybe their SummerSlam. Of course, it's in December, so it's not summer, but you guys know what I mean by it's their SummerSlam. It was a spectacle for sure. The ladies trio lumberjack match kind of kicked things off. It's number 11 out of 10. The triangle trios match is number 10 out of 11. And then 9 out of 11 is the 6-man hardcore match. I would have enjoyed it a little more if the table got lit on fire. We saw Cody and Andrade. We want to see a table get lit on fire spot, but for some reason, Murder Clown and the boys were not able to get it done. Disappointing crowd in Mexico, and I was disappointed as well. And I was saying 11, but there's actually 12 matches. And the first match from Wargames we see get brought into the fold is Gacy and Strong. Strong retains the title. Joe Gacy, he's got a good character and everything, but is he a cruiserweight? Strong says he didn't care about the weight limits, but we care about the weight limits, damn it. There's too many big guys in the company. We need to see more of the big guys here in the NXT Wargames. Like, why not Jiro? You could do Strong versus Jiro. I feel like that would have been a great Cruiserweight Championship match. Or, of course, Kushida is still signed to WWE. But let me digress, because number 8 out of 12 is the Cain Velasquez and Psycho Circus versus LA Park, Black Taurus, and Rey Escorpion. This match was fun. They were, LA Park and Cain Velasquez were getting into each other's face. And then all of a sudden, the legend, 20 years in the making, comes to AAA. Rio Diaz Gallo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I know I'm not. I recognize the mask, but I'm not too big of a fan of Lucha. But it distracted LA Park enough for Cain Velasquez to get the armbar locked in and tap LA Park out. After the match, some people tried to step to this legend, but Cain Velasquez and Psycho Clown and Pagano did not allow that to happen. Chased him to the back. This show was a great show. It's a fun show to watch. I usually only watch one AAA show a year. So the fact that they're able to hook me for a second AAA show, it's great. We talked about it last week. WrestleMania is 2 nights. Wrestle Kingdom is 3 nights. So now we have it looks like 2 big Triplemania cards each year. Sign me up. I'm pretty excited for it. The undercard was, just kind of like a spectacle. You saw a lot of cool luchadors. You saw a lot of cool things. But as they got into the thick of the card, it was really entertaining. But number 7 is Grimes versus Hudson, hair versus hair. Grimes won. I'm surprised. I guess, Hudson's already tall and big, so he can lose his hair, where Grimes, I guess, in the WWE world, all he has is that long hair. So they kept him. But, the LA Knight feud and now this Hudson feud, they're great mid-card, fun, aspects of the show. But I feel like Cameron Grimes is getting super popular. Get him in that world title mix, or else people are going to kind of fall off, and then you don't even have a star. But you've been building this star. I feel like he was on the black and gold version of NXT. He shifted over to the 2.0 version of NXT very smoothly, very good. He's great. So push him. We want to finally see him actually get to the moon. We're all chanting to the moon when he comes out. Come on, WWE. Number 6 out of 12, though, O'Reilly and Van Wagner versus Imperium. And I call this a match, but honestly, it really is just Fabian Eichner going the fuck off. He picks up Van Wagner, slams him down, does a double springboard moonsault to break up a submission attempt, and then he looks like he's about to dive on O'Reilly, jumps on the top rope to hit a frog splash on the outside. Fabian Eichner is the fucking man. he's one of those guys that he was in the CWC, the Cruiserweight Classic, but you kind of forget because he's kind of shifted and made it work for him, and kind of it wasn't like all that you can identify him with. Like I feel like Akira Tozawa, Drew Gulak, people that have been in the company just as long as Fabian Eichner, who have reached a level of success that Fabian Eichner hasn't reached yet, still have that CWC 205 Live kind of stank on them that they can't really get off. Where Fabian Eichner separated himself from the cruiserweights, went to NXT UK, and now he's in NXT proper, and he's impressing me more now than he did then, which you can't say for those other two guys I just mentioned. Fabian Eichner is the fucking man. For people who are also the fucking man, Dragon Lee, the Mystico, which is, used to be Mystico versus Laredo Kid and Willie Mack. This match was amazing match. Unlike the match that I'm about to mention next, at number 4, this match didn't have any weapons. Just 4 guys going off, dancing partners, and in the case of Willie Mack, actually dancing to pop the crowd. It was, super refreshing in a show full. It seemed like chopped full of hardcore matches and hardcore spectacles. Don't get me wrong; those were entertaining. It was great to get a solid lucha match. And you forget how good Dragon Lee is. Dragon Lee, wrestled Hiromu, had a great feud with Hiromu, was in New Japan for a long time, went over to ROH. Not too many people watched his ROH run. It was like the dying days of ROH when he was over there. You forget how good he is, and he kind of needed this match to be amazing, and it freaking was amazing. And I think Dragon Lee did challenge Laredo Kid to Laredo Kid's championship in AAA. So looking forward to seeing that match. Might have to hunt that down, but I just brought it up. FTR versus the Lucha Bros. This match was hurt a little bit because you can kind of tell, I think Phoenix is hurt a little bit. Pentagon was doing a lot of the moves. Vicky Guerrero out there. FTR cutting promos in English throughout the whole card. Really just like heel work on fleek. Talking shit to the whole crowd. They end up getting the victory after a low blow and salt in the eyes to Pentagon, putting him through a table. Dax Harwood gets the title, and they would not shut the fuck up. They kept yelling at the crowd, hyping up the crowd. This FTR versus Lucha Bros feud is not finished, and it is my favorite feud in wrestling right now. It was the best thing that I saw on Rampage. It was the best thing I saw on Triplemania, which is saying a lot. Number 3 is the women's Wargames match. I'm going to break down a little bit more of these last 3 matches for you guys. The women's Wargames match, Kylie Ray and Dakota Kai starting things off. Cora Jade coming in with a skateboard, 2-on-1. Gigi Dolan evens the odds a little bit with a trash can, just throws it at Jade. Kai and Gigi cleaning house. Io Shirai, NXT/Wargames legend. After last year, she dove off with the trash can on her, upper body. Amazing spot. Still like kind of overshadows this Wargames, I would say. And then Casey Jade comes out with, doing some sloppy wrestling, brings in the table. Io using her knees with the trash can lid, whooping ass. I thought that was kind of cool. Cora Jade senton off the top through JC through a table, and that move hurt her shoulder. They were kind of doing a Kota Ibushi angle here where she dove off the top, but it hurt her more than it hurt her opponent, even though her opponent looked pretty hurt. This is when Raquel enters, kind of cleans house. Mandy Rose, the champion, enters the match. This is when the match beyond begins. Mandy looking, fine as ever here. Toxic Attraction cleaning house. 1-2, Cora Jade kicks out, but then Cora Jade pins Mandy. 1, 2, 3. I think we have our next opponent for Mandy for that championship title, because Cora Jade does get the victory over Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction. Toxic Attraction is kind of now that new Undisputed Era faction. They have all the belts, and when you're on top, there's only one way to go. And I think that when they're going down, they need to put over some of these ladies that are more 2.0 talents, and I think Cora Jade is a perfect lady to put over here. I think after Toxic Attraction drops the belts, move them up. 2.0 is good if you keep a rotating list of characters, and to keep that rotating list and cast of characters, you need to bring some up. And Mandy Rose is already, she's already done WrestleMania, she's already done it all, and I think she could elevate Gigi and JC just like she's already done in NXT. But that's why this spectacle of a match sits at number 3 out of 12. But number 2, the Mega Championship match. We had Vikingo, we had Bandito, we had Bobby Fish, we had Jay Lethal, we had Samurai Del Sol. It took 4 men to make up for losing Kenny Omega, but goddamn was this match amazing. Vikingo does a Spanish fly to Samurai Del Sol, pops right up, and then hits a moonsault to the floor. Lethal going off here, 1-2. Fish breaks up a pin. Fish goes for a pin, 1-2. Bandito breaks it up. Samurai Del Sol, or Selena Del Sol to Bandito at one point. Vikingo breaks up that pin to Samurai Del Sol with a springboard 450, 1-2. Samurai kicks out. Bandito with a beautiful moonsault on the outside, taking out Fish and Lethal. Vikingo slips a little bit, but does hit a moonsault to break up the pin, and then an inverted 630, 1-2-3 to get the victory. Locker room clears out for Vikingo. He's the new Mega Champion. You get, people cheering. Finally, the champion is a AAA fighting champion. Omega being the belt collector, that was kind of cool. But if you were a AAA fan, you didn't really see Omega that much. And then, he was hurt. He's hurt in real life. He had to have surgery and everything. But this match you could tell, was designed to make Vikingo that big champion that AAA needs, that big fan that the fan base needs, the champion that the fan base needs, is what I'm trying to get out. And being a casual fan of AAA the last few years, Vikingo is a guy that stood out to me. He does these crazy acrobatic moves, very giftable wrestler, and he kills it in the ring. So, for me to be familiar with him is saying that, the outer reaches of the fan base see him as a star, and he was solidified as a star that evening. And he beat, the Ring of Honor champion. He beat the former WWE US champion. He beat Jay Lethal, who's been TNA and Impact and Ring of Honor champions. He's beat, Bobby Fish, who just got done in the WWE. He beat them all. And now he's the AAA champion. Bandito was happy for him. Bandito jumped right in the ring and started giving him a hug right after he beat. He didn't pin Bandito, but he did beat Bandito in the match. Bandito was happy for him. I'm happy for him. What a fucking moment. Great match. But now that I'm talking about it, it took a whole Wargames match to beat how good that match was. The men's Wargames match is number 1 out of every single match from Triplemania and NXT Wargames. You got to give it to the men's Wargames match. Carmelo Hayes and Gargano starting things off. Grayson Waller coming in, giving 2.0 the upper hand. Trick Williams throws in a chair. Gargano gets it, but that only distracts him to the point where Carmelo and Waller get the upper hand, bust Johnny Gargano open. Pete Dunne comes in to even the odds. Waller rolling around here, hitting a cutter on everybody. Waller, I was pretty impressed by it this match. I feel like he was kind of a standout to me, even more so than Braun Breaker. D'Angelo comes in here. Trick Williams helping him bring in some more tables, some more plunder, until Dexter Lumis pops up out of the ring, chases off, the extra man that 2.0 had on the outside, and then LA Knight comes in. Crowd super behind LA Knight. He can't get in because there's a chain, 2.0 locked the door, so he just climbs in, almost slips. The ring, the cage was extra bouncy. It looked like. Braun Breaker breaks the bolt uses bolt cutters, breaks into the bolts, gets into the cage. Ciampa comes in, the match beyond begins. This is awesome chance. Fill the 2.0 arena. LA Knight suplexes Waller through a table. Ciampa hits an air raid crash to Braun Breaker through a trash can. 1-2. Breaker kicks out. Waller climbs up to the top of the cage, hits a TJP style elbow drop to LA Knight through a table. 1-2. Dunn breaks it up. Breaker spears Ciampa through a table as he's picking up Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes looks like he got the worst of that spear. 1-2-3. Braun Breaker wins for Team 2.0. I mean, the writing was on the wall before the pay-per-view began. You know they were going to put 2.0 over, and they most certainly did. The real story leaving it, though, is what is going to happen to Johnny Gargano. He answered those questions. But before we get into that, let's go into my overall thoughts of NXT and my overall thoughts of Triplemania Regia. The NXT, I thought it was pretty good. There was so many hype videos. The hype videos got me hype, which is what they were supposed to do. They mentioned that it was Beth Phoenix's last night, which is a bummer, but I think Vic and Wade will do all right by themselves. Hopefully they don't bring on another person. If they do, I don't want it to be Samoa Joe because I selfishly want him in the ring, but I think he would be a great commentator as well. He was a commentator for Raw, as you guys know, and in WrestleMania as well. So I think he would be a good pick. The very small crowd chanting boring during the women's match kind of threw me off a little bit, but I think it was just a very small sector of that crowd. Sometimes they say back in the day at the Impact Zone, you could get like 10 people chanting something and it could be picked up throughout the whole world. So I think that was the case here. I don't think too many people thought it was boring. I certainly didn't. I like this, Tiffany Statler vignette, Josh Briggs vignette, Giro vignette. We got so many vignettes, but a few stood out for me a lot. This is, I guess, a staple of NXT 2.0 are these vignettes. We're going to see MSK getting a shaman soon, which is kind of silly. Team Black and Gold backstage. I thought they had a good promo. Von Wagner turned on Kyle, but Kyle turned on Von Wagner. I remember I was at Unforgiven 1998, the very first Unforgiven, and Steve Blackman came out to attack Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett turned on Steve Blackman and hit him with the guitar. And even though Steve Blackman was supposed to be the face, I remember everyone was like, well, he came out there to whoop that guy's ass, and then he ended up getting his ass whooped. And it kind of just took all that heat or shine that you would give Steve Blackman, just swooped it around. And I think that's kind of what they did to Von Wagner here. I think laying out Kyle would have set more of a tone for, I guess you're trying to push Von Wagner. If you're trying to push Kyle O'Reilly, then that's exactly what I would do. But it looks like they're leading into a cage match. So, you got to kind of heat up Von Wagner, especially comparatively speaking to Kyle O'Reilly. But, so many hype videos in between almost every match. There's like 2 or 3 of them. We also got a Jiro cooking show, which was cool. It was all right little show. It was match heavy, which is what I like. Going on to the Triplemania card. Soldiers walk onto the field. Big Mexican flag comes out. They're doing the anthem. It was a big bowl game-like feel right at the top of the show, and I thought it was pretty cool. Matt Stryker and Carlos Ocara, I think is his name. He was the Spanish announcer for Ring of Honor, and of course we all know Matt Stryker. They did all right. They didn't hurt the show in any way. I don't think they knew too much about the show leading into it, but neither did I, so they might have worked. Ty Valkyrie showing up on the screen. I guess we know where she's going after WWE. Conan coming out. A dude rolling up on a motorcycle. Like, the whole deal was kind of, felt big right off the bat. They did a great job doing that. The baseball stadium, just a cool feel for a great show. Kind of like that Manhattan Center kind of vibe where you're shooting just the one angle. But those only worked for crowd shots because the camera, unlike the Manhattan Center, was facing where the crowd is facing the set. Where the Manhattan Center, you want it facing kind of out. But that's just me nitpicking, diving in. But it did look really cool when they did show the crowd shots, especially when they all had their cell phones up and everything like that, paying tribute to Antonia Pena. Just a really cool vibe. Vicky and FTR bullying the guy from the WWF Spanish announce table, getting him to cut the promos they were cutting in English in Spanish to the Lucha Bros. And so I guess that, it's a good way to get heat and also have the crowd understand what you're saying. Like I said before, Dragon Lee challenging Laredo Kid for the Cruiserweight title. That's going to hook me. I'm a guy who watches Triplemania every year, and now they're getting me to watch, 2 Triplemanias, and now they're hooking me with this Dragon Lee versus Laredo Kid match. That match is going to be fucking bananas. Psycho Clown coming out. I really liked his entrances with all the little kids jumping up and down. Rio del Lesico coming out again, getting saved by Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez with the Arizona State Sun Devils lucha mask, I thought was kind of cool. Just 2 really cool shows, and it was hard to rank them, because I felt myself enjoying the Triplemania matches more, but then when I would look at the rankings, the NXT matches kind of all got a little bit of a bump. So I think I just like the overall spectacle, the big fight feel, the ambiance of the Triplemania show, but then when it came down to it, I'm a Carolina boy at heart. I've been to, the 1996 Wargames, so I'm going to love the Wargames matches. It's going to have a little bit of a rose-colored glasses to them. But what did not have rose-colored glasses to it was Tuesday NXT. Johnny Gargano comes out crying. Crowd on their feet, Johnny wrestling chants. He says, if there's one regret I have in the past 6 years is that I didn't enjoy this enough. And he goes into his dark match with William Regal, booked it with Apollo Crews. He wasn't going to get signed, and then everyone kept chanting Johnny wrestling. They brought him back week after week, and then he eventually got signed, and everyone knows what happened there. He says change is scary, but sometimes it needs to happen, and it just seems like one of those heartfelt moments in pro wrestling we're going to get. And then all of a sudden Waller comes out, attacks him, puts him through a table, and I guess they're thinking that all that love for Johnny Gargano is going to go into hate for Waller. That might happen, but if he keeps doing TJP through the the invisible basketball through the legs as he hits an elbow drop off the cage, I feel like he's going to be loved eventually. I don't know. I guess, you had to get the heat on the newer guy. You had to take that love for NXT yellow and gold and put it on 2.0, and that's what they did here. It's okay. It's cool. I mean, they kind of have to do it, I guess. They say in February, Johnny Gargano is going to be a dad. Will he take time off? In the current wrestling landscape, I would. Why not? Rest up, come back when you're even more special and where everyone else has kind of found their footing. Speaking of found their footing, I think Beyond Wrestling has refound their footing with they did an event called Fete Forever. It was super cool. I'm going to review a match from that and kind of give it a compare and contrast to another world title match, because I'm talking about the Independent Wrestling World Championship match between Alex Shelley and Ruby Soho. Cool rock show atmosphere. No seats unless they were these special seats that were on the stage, but most of the crowd was just crowded around the room like a punk show or something like that. Atmosphere helps a lot. Alex Shelley, like I said, independent wrestling champion, just competed against a deathmatch star, John Wayne Murdoch, and now he's defending against AEW superstar Ruby Soho. Crowd behind Ruby. Alex Shelley does look good. Locks in the air raid like he's kind of doing the air raid crash, but pulls Ruby Soho's leg on top of his thigh and bends her around the air raid lock, I guess. Then he also does an inverted butterfly lock that looked pretty cool. Soho gets the upper hand. Crowd, still behind her. Senton, Shelley gets his knees up. 1, 2, kick out. Shelley stays on her though. Stiff elbows by Soho throughout. Air raid crash by Alex Shelley. 1, 2, Ruby kicks out. counters, 1-2, Shelley kicks out again, 1-2, Shelley won't quit, he kicks out again, Sister Abigail, for whatever the fuck reason, 1-2, Soho kicks out, but he catches her in a crossface maneuver, she taps out. What a great match. The crowd really made for it. There was other AEW talent on the show, but man, this crowd was hyped for this match. And, looking back at the Independent Championship, you have Wheeler Yuta, former champion, now on AEW. Lee Moriarty, former champion, now on AEW. And the champion before them was Warhorse, who did appear on AEW. So you look at the trajectory of this, I think it was smart for IWTV to put the title on Shelley, because I don't think Shelley's going to be like a sought-after talent as much as these younger guys you're putting the title on, and then he can go around and build prestige to the championship. I think it's perfect, and I think the atmosphere was great. Atmosphere says a lot, and it's a big reason why I wasn't into the NWA Hardtimes pay-per-view main event. Mike Knox versus champion Trevor Murdoch. Amazing video package to start things off. Great production. Love that shit. But then when they come in, the bleachers that were already only on one side of this TV studio are like a quarter full. For whatever reason, I guess they couldn't have a lot of people in Atlanta. For whatever reason, I know COVID's riling back up here in the States. That might be the reason. I have no clue. This thing was not full by any means. And I used to watch Power in 2019. This thing was packed. Like, people that I know in North Carolina were traveling down there every TV shooting. And now this thing is barely filled for a pay-per-view. So that really killed the vibe. But I tried to get into the match. Knox with the upper hand. Spine buster by the champ. Both men down. DDT 1-2, Knox kicks out, superplex by Knox 1-2, Trevor kicks out, 1-2, Trevor kicks out again by grabbing the rope, bulldog off the top, 1-2-3, Trevor Murdoch gets the victory. But what really was interesting was what happened afterwards. NWA heavyweight champion Trevor Murdoch already pretty much knocked out, and then Matt Cardona comes out, the former GCW champion. Mike Knox hits a low blow. Santa Mick comes out. That's right, Mick Foley dresses Santa Claus. And he says, Santa say ho, 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 but Mick says no, no, no. Then Pope comes out to help Mick Foley and Trevor Murdoch. So right then and there, we have three guys that in 2007 were a part of the WWECW brand, and here they are in NWA, and I think Trevor Murdoch was on Raw at the time. So you just have guys from WWE from like 14 years ago all making up your world title picture, where in 2019 that wasn't the case by any means. You had, Nick Aldis, someone who never been to the WWE, holding your championship high with, wrestling just, different assorted guys. I think Marty Scurll was the big match they were hyping up prior to all those allegations coming out. But anyways, going back, Cardona's great in GCW because he is the guy from WWE, and he, was a legitimate champion, Intercontinental champion at one point. But then you got Pope, Mike Knox, which really brings down that prestige. And then before you know it, it's all guys from WWE from 10 years ago standing in a TV studio that's a quarter full. The magic that they once had 2 years ago in NWA is it's fleeting fast, and it's going to less prestigious titles like this IWTV title, the Independent Championship. I don't know what you would do if you were the NWA, but they got to do something quick, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I was just watching some wrestling after I watched AAA and Takeover, and I saw these title matches, and I just thought it was interesting, the juxtaposition between the two. One is lineage cannot be overshadowed. It is the most prestigious world championship that should be in the independents, the NWA title. It used to be the most prestigious championship, but of course you would put WWE, AEW, New Japan, but the lineage behind it trumps all those. And here they are with the atmosphere of what looks like a championship, like an indie championship. And then you put that against the Independent Championship, which Alex Shelley, another guy, traveled the world, has a lot of tenure, doesn't have that WWE like career to fall back on. If you know about him, you do know a little bit about something other than WWE. You know about TNA, you know about New Japan, you know about Impact and everything like that. So he does have a bit of a name, but he built it outside of the WWE. So you're watching something new, you're watching something fresh with this Independent Championship, where you're watching NWA. It's already an older championship, but you're not watching anything new. You're watching four guys that did wrestle on the third brand 10 years ago. I think NWA's got to step it up. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Fly high. I'm out.